Racism in the Latino community is absolutely horrendous. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was introduced to this Salvadorian girl by one of my friends. The school that I went to for a short period of time, it was predominantly Black, Hispanic, and Latino, with Hispanic and Latino being the majority. When I first met her, she had long brown hair, big brown eyes, and red rosy cheeks. I took a liking to her. We're heading into winter break and we decided to get to know each other during that time. We talked pretty much every day. We went on a few dates. It was a great experience. During this time, we were sharing so much about each other's culture. She was telling me all about El Salvador and Salvadoran culture, and I was telling her more about Black culture that she didn't know about. Despite our different races and backgrounds and how heavily divided our school was, we still had a good relationship. After winter break, her and I decided that in the future we were going to keep our relationship on the down low. Only close friends will know about our relationship. At the time, I did not understand why we even did this in the first place. Why is it such a problem and a nuisance to keep our relationship a secret from everybody else? What's also strange to me is her family allows her to be in a relationship. However, she also wanted to keep that from her parents as well. Like I said, I didn't understand why, but I went along with it anyway. At this time, this was one of the most healthiest relationships I've ever been in because she genuinely cared about me and my well-being, and the connection was astronomical. A few months that felt like days has passed, and then the worst has finally come. Our relationship has spread all across the school, and in the beginning, people responded with positive feedback. Until the next day, an abundant amount of Hispanic and Latinos in the community was very displeased and unsatisfied with my relationship with her. She kept getting threats of comments of people saying that she should not be dating a Black man. He is Black. You should not be dating her. You should be dating an Hispanic man. You should be dating a Latino man. At the time, she did the best she could to fight for me, her, and our relationship. However, in the end, she was suffering from too much mental and emotional pain. Eventually, some people in the Latino community went out of their way to contact her mother to tell her that she is dating a Black man. As it turns out, despite her wanting to be in a relationship with me, her family was very racist and discriminative towards Black people. Her family was comparing me to Black stereotypes, ghetto, hood rat, a thief, made some other comments like Black people are beneath us, they are third rate, you shouldn't be stooping so low to date someone like that. Apparently, a lot of the people in the Latino community who showed disinterest in our relationship thought and felt the same way, but more on colorism. My skin complexion was a threat and a problem to them because they did not like me dating another Latino woman. There were some other Latino men who was very jealous of the fact that I was dating someone like her. With all due respect, she is very attractive, especially with the school that we went to. Her and I was forced to break up and we discontinued our relationship. But unfortunately, it gets worse. There was these two Latino men who was very angry of the fact that I was dating her to begin with, and they wanted to fight me. At the time, I lacked combat skills and experience, and these two Latino guys who wanted to fight me were boxers. I was put at a major disadvantage, but despite this, I didn't really have a choice because there was honor and pride on the line. Despite me knowing for an absolute fact that I couldn't win against these two massive boxers, I still showed up anyway. And I fought, I got my ass beat, and I lost. Granted, my Salvadorian girlfriend at the time had no idea about any of this until I told her afterwards. After I went home looking like a complete mess and taking a very honorable ass whooping, I might add, my uncle was there and he said to me, "Did you win?" And I said, "No." And then he said, "Did you learn something from this?" Absolutely. At that moment in time, after taking a very honorable ass whooping, I decided to learn how to fight myself. A year later, I took up Taekwondo, Kung Fu, and boxing. I still do it to this day, but this is just one of those stories that, once again, I've faced through a lot of colorism and racism, especially when it comes to my relationships and friendships. And you know what? Despite that relationship ending and getting my ass beat by two intermediate boxers, one thing I can say for sure about myself, at least I wasn't a bitch. But why bring this up now? One, is because it's one of the next stories I wanted to share with you. And two, I have been seeing so many stories from so many Black women, especially brown and dark-skinned women and men, sharing their experiences of racism and colorism from the Latino and Hispanic communities. And my people being constantly shamed and rejected because of our skin tone, because we are the Black people. Being constantly rejected and called ugly and inferior because of our skin tones is absolutely insufferable, and it can cause self-hatred within ourselves. So, to all of my beautiful melanated Black people, especially the Black women, please understand me. You are God's and Mother Nature's greatest accomplishment and greatest creation. You are the Black pearl, the onyx crystal that shines brightly when the sun radiates off of your skin. The way your body touches the sand and the water that slides off of your skin. There is nothing more beautiful than that. From your hair to your eyes and your skin tone to your wisdom and your nurturing, you are the greatest reflection of Mother Nature itself. You are absolutely fruitful, and your potential in love is insurmountable compared to anyone and anything else. Understand me. Do not let anyone destroy your self-love or to strip you away of your Blackness. Understand that you are the greatest that has ever lived. You hold values and attributes that even our ancient African goddess themselves has passed on to you. So please understand me when I say this. You are meant to be gods and goddesses. So become one. That's all I have to say on the matter. It's Onyx. And I'll see you next time.
About 5 years ago, I went to Santo Domingo. I went with my husband, and we were there to celebrate one of my good friends' wedding. And it was absolutely fabulous and absolutely beautiful. Now, every time I go to a different country, I love observing the customs, the culture, the food, the music, and I was able to do just that. Like I said, the wedding was the best part of my trip. However, I got to see a whole bunch of colorism and classism and racism on this trip as well. Now, I remember being in this beautiful hotel, and there were several families that had a nanny with them. And the nanny was always Haitian. And that's fine, you can have a nanny. But it was the level of how they treated them with disrespect that really pissed me off. And I saw that play out many times. And they had them wearing uniforms to make sure that people knew that they were the nanny. And you already know that left a bitter taste in my mouth. And earlier that day, we went to tour the city. I went with my neighbors, Robbie and George, and we had a tour guide. But during this tour, this man who's Afro-Latino, and he was about 5 shades darker than my husband, who is African-American, he was disparaging the Haitians the whole time, talking about that they were not God's people. They were like not the chosen one. And I told him, stop talking about your cousins that way. He started becoming upset with me. And then I told him that he was black. I said, you are African, sir. That man left our tour group and had to get someone else because he was so upset because I called him black, because I said he was African too. I will never forget that incident because I think we were all left with our mouths wide open. Now, fast forward to me and my community in Lake Nona. My husband and I decided to go out to eat because we still don't have a kitchen because they're still renovating the house. And we saw a white passing Latino family. I mean, they look pretty white. And there was one woman sitting with them. Well, actually to the end. And she happens to be Afro-Latina. And she was seated in front of the children. And my husband pointed it out. He was like, they're not even conversating with her. She is not saying anything. She just has a simple rice bowl, which that could have been her choice, but everybody is eating lavishly, just has a lot of food in front of them. And while they were laughing and giggling, you know, we made the assumption that she's the help. And it took me back to the place in Santo Domingo in which I felt that they mistreated and disrespected their nanny. We really tried so hard not to stare, but it's something that you don't really see very often here. And we had so many questions in our mind. Are they visiting from the other country? And I was trying to pinpoint their Spanish, but not Dominican at all. But it's something that plays out time and time again in like Spanish novelas, which is one of the reasons why I refuse to watch them, because a lot of colorism, classism, and racism. Anyway, I hope I was only making a terrible assumption, but it was just something I was thinking about. You guys have a blessed day.
If you know why people in Spain don't like Mexicans, let me know, because my sister and I are now speaking in English, so people think we are Americans, so they're nicer to us. I'm not saying everybody is like this. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just saying what we've experienced in the past month. People are not very nice to us when we speak in Spanish and they realize we're from Mexico. And they treat us a lot better when they think we're American.
It's true. Black people will be discriminated against in a Latin American country. If you're leaving America to get away from discrimination and you're moving to a Latin American country thinking that you're not going to be discriminated against, you're wrong. I've been hearing a lot about people that have moved to Mexico and are complaining that they're being discriminated against in Mexico. Let me tell you something. Mexico discriminates against their own Mexican people that are darker shade than the rest of them. In Mexico, there's a lot of states that have very fair skin and blue eyes people. The people that have indigenous features, the very dark skin, the black hair, are discriminated against. So you coming to live to Mexico and think that you're not going to be discriminated against is a fallacy. This is not just in Mexico. It happens everywhere in Latin America. Black people are discriminated against. In Honduras, there's an entire community of Garifunas. And Garifunas have been in Honduras for hundreds of years. And to this day, they discriminate against them. They remove their land. Some of them even get murdered. It's a battle Garifunas have gone through for decades with Honduras. because Honduras to this day does not recognize Garifunas as part of being part of Honduras. And so I grew up looking at Garifunas as if they were subculture, subhuman. I'm telling you, you think that you're leaving the US and moving to a Latin American country to escape racism? You're not escaping racism. And you need to understand that that's just the way things are. And it's very acceptable. Those of you who are coming on TikTok complaining that they're in Mexico and that they are embracing the Mexican culture and why are they being discriminated against, that is why. Mexico people discriminate against their own. What do you think it's going to happen when you're there? In fact, in Mexico, if you don't have light skin and blue eyes, first of all, look at the telenovelas. You tell me, what do you see in telenovelas? You're only going to see beautiful people with light skin and blue eyes. You're going to see some indigenous people. The vast majority of the roles they give the indigenous actors is of the maid, is of, it's never the pretty woman. Yeah. How many actors do you know in Mexico that are in a telenovela and they happen to be black? Just look at the telenovelas and you tell me how many indigenous actors and actresses you're going to see in those telenovelas. It's the reality in Mexico, and you need to understand that. You're not escaping racism by moving to a Latin American country.
Without failure, every single time somebody talks about Europe's history with racism, there's always one person that says like, oh, the USA is still more racist, or no, we're not racist, the US is racist. How much time do you have? Because there's a lot of countries in Europe. Let's start with the home of the Queen. Do you know why most of the world speaks English as the international business language? That's because the UK doesn't know how to mind their business. Indians, Jamaicans, Nigerians all face so much xenophobia in the UK, literally just because of where they're from, even though England literally colonized them. Mind you, parts of the UK are literally colonized by England. And I would hope, since you're paying so much attention to the United States, that you're also paying attention to your literal neighbor, France, who is literally one of the most Islamophobic countries in the world, right? Because let's not pretend that women who are hijabis are not racialized. But if you weren't paying attention to France, we can move a little more south, to the Iberian Peninsula. Yes, world tour. Are we going to pretend that Portuguese adolescents aren't hugely influenced by Brazilian influencers to the point where their parents are trying to keep them away from Brazilian media because they don't want them to talk like Brazilian? They don't want them to sound like that? And do not even get me started on the way that the Portuguese government treats people from Angola and Mozambique. Oh, but you can slither right to Spain, and guess what? I could talk about this one all day. Latino businesses in Catalonia being shut down because of all the taxes that the Spanish government is putting on them, but people who are ethnically Catalan don't have to pay those same taxes? Yeah. And I'm not saying immigrants shouldn't pay taxes, but when you're charging them double the amount of people that are from Catalonia, yeah, it looks a little wrong. Or we can also talk about the political oppression that's causing the rise of Latino political parties in Spain. Or we can literally talk about the right-wing party, the Vox party in Spain, that literally hates Latino immigrants. Or we can talk about all the North Africans that the Spanish government is responsible for killing at the Moroccan border. Should I keep going? I feel like you're not getting the point yet. Should we ignore the hundreds of black and brown people who have said how uncomfortable they feel in Rome and Italy because of how much they're stared at for looking a little different? Or we could talk about how your entire continent, well, barely a continent at that, treat Romani people, because clearly you guys don't like them either. Or are we going to talk about how even though they're European, you guys treat Eastern Europeans like they're subhumans? To the point where they used my audio about European nonsense against Western Europeans because of the history of how you guys have treated them? Yeah, I think that's good for now. I'm in no way excusing this country, because this country, the United States, is easily one of the most racist countries in the entire world. But it irks me whenever a European tries to make it seem like it's all peaceful over there when we know that's not the case. Because at the end of the day, whose governments were it that put all these systems into place? Where do you think Columbus sailed from? Antarctica?
So Afro-Latino gets on here and states that he don't know why the other Hispanics, the Latinos are discriminating against him. Like, hey, we're both Latinos, but they're giving the ideal looking Latino more hours. They're cutting his hours. Let me play it right quick.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, the most prejudice have been the Hispanics, like Afro-Latinos. Just X that as well. Like, that shit is fucking with me really fucking bad. I'm at the site and it's like I have to beg for hours because I don't look like the picture perfect fucking Hispanic. And
I don't think they get it. Because just imagine if white Americans and black Americans, if they put us all in the same community, the only thing we have in common is that we're Americans. One group is marginalized. One group have a history of being discriminated and racially profiled and just locked out of markets just because of a different race, being of a different race. See, the Spaniards messed them up. They're like, hey, we're all one. And the whole thing about being all one, they wanted to breed out the indigenous and black people out of the gene pool. Hey, we can't discriminate against you if you no longer exist. You get it? But if you look at it, they're just excluded. Like Latinos is one group and they're a completely different group. The Afro-Latinos and indigenous people. They're excluded from that community. I don't think they're processing it. Everything is based on race. You're sharing a community with your oppressors. And if you look at the Latin American countries, the people that's marginalized in all those countries are black and indigenous people. The proof is in the pudding.
Oh, yes. I can literally write a book about my experience dealing with racism in Spain. So it literally started with the apartment search. Me and two other girls who are all from the United States, we decided to room together. We met each other in this group chat that they have for people doing my program abroad in Spain. And we all chose schools that were in similar areas. So we decided to live together. And for me, I knew that I wanted to live with other black or at least people of color so that I had some sense of home away from home. Also, I'm someone who, wears wigs and stuff. I don't have time to be answering questions or have ignorant comments or anything like that. So I knew that I wanted at least that type of peace when I lived in Spain. As soon as I got to Spain, I started apartment searching. Literally my next day after I arrived, I was looking for apartments because I knew that it would be a struggle, especially when hundreds of people are coming with this program and they're all looking for apartments downtown. And I'm picky. I'm not living in the trenches for nobody. So I knew that I wanted a nice place. So I immediately got to it. And then my roommate, shout out to Lenise, when she got there, we started looking together. So it started with us looking for apartments. We were taking it easy, taking our time at first because we were picky. We didn't want to just live anywhere. Also, we have a budget because this program does not pay you a lot, right? So we were, taking our time, picking out apartments we liked and whatnot. But within that 2-week mark, once it had been 2 weeks and we hadn't found somewhere, we started saying yes to everything, even if it didn't look the best, because that's how desperate we were. In Spain, you can go with a realtor, and realtors will actually show you apartments. That way, they're your middleman. You don't have to talk directly to the landlord. The realtor will do it all for you. So you can look at an apartment, start an application. You can get as far as almost signing a contract without meeting the landlord, without ever seeing them. Keep that in mind. This is how we knew racism played a part, right? So the first one that we really liked was 800 euros, super cheap. I really liked it. So I wanted to put in an application for it. Me and my roommates all agreed. We put in an app for it. The landlord reaches out to the realtor and she's like, oh, okay, can you have them send me, the paperwork, the documents, and then we're good to go. So we send everything. And then lastly, she's like, oh, I also need your passport photos, a picture of your passport. Since these are immigrants from America, we need a picture of your passport. So we sent over our passport pictures and she's like, oh, keep in mind communication to the landlord. So the landlord's getting all this live while talking to us. And the landlord is like, oh, well, yeah, they don't make enough. Keep in mind this apartment was 800 euros. We each make 700 euros. So that's 2,100 euros a month between 3 people. You're telling me we can't pay 800 euro rent, which actually was the cheapest apartment that we saw. Yeah, the only way they can do it is if they pay it completely in full. So we're yeah, we're not doing that. We decided, okay, we're just not gonna go with that, whatever. The next one, which was very blatant, was a loft. Y'all, I fell in love with this loft. I think it was 950 euros. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was my dream apartment. I would literally move in even if it was in the States. So everything was going good. We actually saw this apartment through the landlord. So we went with our friend. Our friend, who's not black, keep in mind, our friend went to view it and she didn't like it. And me and my roommate were the whole time we were jealous looking at it because we were oh my gosh, how did you even find this? So when she said she didn't want it and we met the landlord, meaning we wouldn't have to pay fees for a realtor, we were oh yeah, we want it. So we asked her to send us the landlord's info. Boom. So we talked to the landlord and our struggle Spanish wasn't cutting it. So she was my husband speaks English, so just talk to him, which was great. So I was in contact with the husband. So I was talking to the husband. Literally, I was hey, we saw your apartment today with our friend. We love it. I will pay you today. Da-da-da-da. We did our conversation and, everything was going good. I asked him, I was can you put the rent down to just 900 euros flat? And he agreed to do so. So literally, he started asking me questions about myself. And he was okay, when do you need a contract? We told him everything. Everything was great. He was all right, I'm going to work on the contract tonight. And hopefully I can have it over to you by tomorrow. So I'm great. Do you need anything else from me? He's no, I'm good. Just send me this, and that. We sent him everything. So then, lastly, he calls me back at night. He's actually, I forgot to tell you, I'm actually going to need your passport photos and your visa to live in Spain. So I'm okay, cool. So we send that over, 3 black girls, right? And he says to send it to his wife. So we send it to his wife. And why does the wife say, oh, what happened to your friend? Talking about our non-black friend who came to see the apartment with us. So she's talking to my roommate. I'm talking to the husband. So my roommate's oh, no, that was our friend. She just came to see it with us, but she doesn't want the place. We do. She just keeps asking about our friend, literally mentioning our friend's name. Keep in mind, I'm talking business with the husband. Suddenly the husband switches up and he's hey, do you have a reference in Spain to reference that you're a good, what is it called, lease or tenant or whatever? And I'm well, I already explained to you that I'm from the States, I'm moving abroad, so no, there's no way that I would have a reference in Spain if this is my first time moving to Spain, but I can get one from the States from you. And he was no, I would actually need one from Spain. And I'm okay, the switch up was crazy. Literally, the wife is oh, someone else got the apartment. So I'm still talking to the husband. Keep in mind, the wife told my roommate that someone else got the apartment while the husband's still talking to me. So I guess eventually they talked and like they figured out, they got the message together. And then he just stopped replying. He's like, actually, yeah, you're just gonna need a reference period from Spain. If you haven't lived here before, it's not gonna work. I'm like, oh, is that so? Is it true? Because we were just talking and things just switched. So I was like, is there another reason as to why you don't want to give me this apartment? And he was like, oh no, you just need a reference. So that was our situation. We know it was racism. Man was literally drafting a contract as we were speaking. Us sending our passport photos, which obviously shows the color of our skin, suddenly made him switch up. And then even that didn't even make him switch up. He was still talking back and forth with me. Meanwhile, the wife is saying, oh no, the apartment's not available, which is a lie because the listing stayed on the website for months after that. So that was our first blatant racist experience. And while we were apartment searching, a homeless lady came and asked us for change in Spanish. We're struggling to understand not only just Spanish, but Spaniard Spanish from southern Spain, which has a heavy accent. So we were just confused, and we were like, no, we don't understand, we don't have it. And then she looks at us and she's like, ugh, negras. I swear it almost sounded like she said the N-word with a hard R. And we were just we were in shock. And this is while we were apartment searching, the same week as dealing with this. So you can imagine, we were just did we make the wrong decision coming here?
In this life, I don't want to be in that condition where I'll be crying because people have refused to accept me wherever they are. It can be very painful. It's not that I've not experienced it before, right? I've experienced it based on, maybe being friends with people and they don't want you, right, to be among them. That is totally different. But now, being in a place or in a country that I don't have power over, and then because of my color or because of my identity, I am being denied of normal things that other people would get, can be very, very painful. I can't even imagine because how do people even cope? How do people cope living in places like that? I mean, I don't mean those things can't exist. I have a hope of probably relocating out of, Africa to stay in any of these countries. But sometimes I begin to think, how am I even going to balance it? How am I going to function? Yeah, that's the word. How? Waking up to know that, oh, this person that I like so much wouldn't like me because of my skin color. Sometimes, even in a family where maybe one was now born to be black and the rest are all whites, probably, because of, your forefathers' thing, color and all of that, that child mistakenly came out to be that color. That child is going to face racism in their family, sometimes even by their parents. To be honest, most Africans will not take it from you as a parent. They will end you. That is it, because you can't bring me to this world and start showing me some kind of character. Oh, I don't want you. Oh, this is not what I wanted before. Oh, why are you like this? You can't bring me to this world and start making me feel like, why did I even come? No, you were responsible for why I'm here. So don't even show me that. Yeah, don't. Guys, I digressed. I didn't even greet. Welcome to Global Gist with BJ. My name is Blessing. I am your friend. It doesn't matter the race. I love you all. I love the Hispanics. I love the Asians. I love everybody. I love blacks. I love whites. I love Indians, the browns, and all of that. That is me, your sister, right? Bringing these things to you, right? That sometimes they're like, ew. To be honest, it's very irritating. But here, you're going to see in those videos that you're about to see right now how a lot of people face these things in their own families, in their own countries. Some as even visitors, right, that came for a holiday and they're facing these things. You can imagine me paying my money to come to your country. I'm coming to spend my money there in your economy, and you're giving me, this. How do I even? So, guys, that's what you're about to watch. So, let's watch them, and then I'll come back with the commentaries.
So let's move on to Puerto Rico. This person commented saying that they're Puerto Rican, they're from the island, that they don't know what I'm talking about, that Puerto Ricans have always been different colors. Duh, everybody knows this. But the standard Puerto Rican now, the ones that we see in the United States, the ones that are representing Puerto Rico, they're very pale-skinned people. Throughout the years when I would go to Puerto Rico, there would be people that look like me, people darker than me, very golden-skinned people. And I am aware that in places like Loíza, we still have darker-skinned Puerto Ricans. But the last time I went to Puerto Rico, which was 2 years ago, I noticed that everybody was white. Everywhere I went, everybody was white. And I asked one of the girls, there was no curly hair anywhere. And I asked one of the girls, why does nobody have curly hair here? Because everybody was infatuated by my hair. They're like, oh, I want to put my rizos back in. And I said, why doesn't anybody have curly hair? And they said, it is taboo in Puerto Rico to have curly hair now. So they get treatments that permanently make their hair straight. They're not perms, but they're similar treatments. And I think my issue with not only Puerto Rico, but many Hispanic countries is that they lie and act like they don't know that the internal racism is super, super, super embedded into our culture. An example of that would be, and I'm sure many of my Hispanics have heard this, they'll say, no me traiga nietos negro. So don't bring me back black grandchildren. Or even other concepts such as if your hair is not straight and it's not done. And while we're aware that places like Jamaica and DR, Nigeria, they do bleach their skin sometimes, I think in a sense what Puerto Rico does is a little bit worse because it intentionally breeds out the black, which is why today there's not that many darker skinned Puerto Ricans. And I'm going to show you guys pictures of what I remember in Puerto Rico when I was younger. So this is a picture of my aunt, rest in peace, and her friend. These are some more pictures. Hell, even I was darker at one point. So because the concept of being black is bad, many people in the islands, they'll procreate with people of a different color. And I believe anybody can love whoever they want to love. But I do think after a while it stops being a preference and it starts being a standard. So my grandmother ended up having a child with a white man because that is the standard I'm talking about. Creating my mother, which she is a beauty, I must admit. But the root is my issue. The idea of being black being bad is my issue. And I'm like one of the last generations who is even this color. Me and my cousins were all mulattoes and they all ended up procreating with whiter skinned men. So the next generation after me is all white babies and it's going to keep getting whiter and whiter. And there were times where I wish I would have been born in the island. I'm an American. I was raised in America. I lived in Puerto Rico for a very small time, but there was times where I wish I would have been raised there, but I'm afraid that I would have probably had this internal issue, self-hate issue as well. And I think it bothers other Hispanics that I don't. There is not a lot of representation for Taino and black Puerto Ricans in the media. Actually, the only person who I can think of off the top of my head is Osuna and Mike Towers. And I think Osuna's half Dominican. And I think people think that colonization is a thing that happened hundreds of years ago. But no, this is colonization. This is colonization. I'm a product of colonization. And then people will have a problem with me for identifying as black. Even though when I look in the mirror, I don't see this white woman that people want me to see. I can see the Taina, but I have black features. And there's literally people in East African countries that look like the Hispanics on this side of the world. And the reality is, I know who I am. I know that I'm an Israelite. And that also bothers people. You try to tell, even this person who commented, we have nothing to do with Israel. First of all, it's an ignorant statement because let's just say I'm absolutely wrong and that the indigenous and that the slaves who were brought over are not Israelites. The Spanish had a high Jewish influence. The Spaniards have a lot of Jewishness in their blood. So that statement isn't true. I'm from the tribe of Ephraim and it's not from the European in me. It's from the Taino and the black in me. So I choose to embrace that because I will never be a white woman. No matter how much melanin I lose over the years, I will always be a woman of color, a black woman that came from a black woman that came from a black woman. And the Hispanic community just has a huge problem and they lie about it. We're not racist, but then they say the most racist things, the most colorist things. And that's why I think that either the best or the worst thing my parents could have done was raise me in America because the Hispanics that are born in America and raised in America, they're able to see what happens to black American people and then look at their culture and say, this is wrong. And I stand on that. This is wrong. So anyway, we'll move on to another country next. Shalom.
I want my hair to be like violence.
Mija, estás prietita.
No, Mom, I want to hair my prietita right now, Mom.
Khaleesi, come here. Khaleesi, come here. Khaleesi, come here.
It's my decision.
You're recording.
It's my decision. Oh, yeah, that's pretty. Can I go blonde?
It's gonna wash you out so bad.
Care.
No, I care. I'm not gonna let you do
No,
that.
stop, please.
Mom is always right.
No, she's not.
Vas a parecer.
I learned that the hard way.
Vas a parecer India.
That's why, so let me dye my hair.
You are like an Indian.
Yeah?
Camelia, you can go blonde. I feel like it would suit you.
Camelia.
No! A loser.
Why are you crying? You're not gonna dye your hair. Estás loca. No te voy a dejar hasta que tengas 15 años. Es más.
Mom! You're letting Camelia dye her hair blonde.
Because she's lighter. She's lighter.
Mom! You're always letting everybody. You're literally choosing black girl. First of all, you choose them as your baby.
You saw in the that video is unfortunately something that is very common in many Latino households. Our parents raise us to be very, very colorist. Quick story time, and I'll say it in Spanish because I know a lot of people don't believe that I'm Latina. Era el verano antes de mis 15 y mi mamá me dijo, no te vas a salir porque te vas a poner prieta y quiero que te veas bonita para tus 15. Meaning she didn't want me to get tan because I was 15 when that teal turquoise aqua color was like very popular. So it was a lighter color on a darker girl. And my mom was like, if you look any darker, you're gonna be ugly. Truly the girl, like the main girl, Valentina, she is literally defending her mom, saying her mom knows best. Mija, your mom does not know best. Your mom is a colorist. Your mom is hurting your little sister, and by you and your other sister agreeing with your mom, y'all are traumatizing her. She's gonna grow up to think that there's something wrong with her because she's darker. And she has every right to be crying that hard. And the shit that they're saying, like, oh my god. So I'm gonna tag the creator who first brought this up because I had not seen this video until she stitched it. I'm gonna put the video in the caption.
It's very sad that one thing that every race have in common is disliking black people. That's the one thing that every freaking race have in common is disliking us. But another thing they have in common is using us for our money and our sympathy and empathy. Because blacks, let me set y'all straight. Y'all feel sorry for people too fast and too much and at the wrong time. Y'all always, because I see some of y'all saying that the things that we saying we shouldn't be saying. Stop feeling sorry for people and stop letting them use your religion against you. Stop letting them use that God that they gave you against you. That's so weird to me. Y'all don't understand that the empathy and sympathy that y'all do have has been programmed. This is why you wind up feeling sorry for your enemies half the time, bruh. This is why you wind up feeling sorry for people that will not go into bed for you at all. Not one time, not one bit. You wind up feeling sorry for people that wouldn't do for you that you would do for them. So you start turning on your own people. The one thing those other races do have in common, they stick together no matter right or wrong or indifferent. They will stick together. But they'll find something weak in us, which is a lot, to make us turn on each other, okay? And start saying, yeah, well, y'all shouldn't be saying that about the people. I feel bad. Yes, we feel bad that it's happening. But you think we about to go in front line because we feel bad? Baby, it take a little bit more feeling bad than for me to get up out there. So, at the end of the day, if we're next, we sitting there, we understand what we need to do. Huh? We ready. Be blessed. So I started speaking up for the Hispanic community, and the first thing my community tried to do was denounce my blackness. Not that I feel the need to explain myself, but I'm 21. For all 21 years of my life, I have been fighting for the black community. I went to an art school in high school as a PWI, and I started the very first black student union that still stands to this day. I sat with my humanities teacher and changed the curriculum because I was tired of learning about the same fucking 4 people every fucking year. Now they're still learning off that curriculum that me and that humanities teacher created. I'm talking, we had monthly coffee houses, and I dedicated the one in February for Black History Month because it was dedicated to Valentine's Day. Still standing to this fucking day. Every slam poem, every protest, every time I needed to get out and use my fucking voice, I did. I've been doing this fucking forever. And just because I'm speaking out for the Hispanic community does not fucking denounce my blackness, baby. I was raised black, and I always will be. But as black people, this is why I'm needing help to understand, because we have this sort of fucking Stockholm syndrome where we're addicted to America, our kidnapper, okay? Because we don't want to leave because we think the rest of the world is going to fucking reject us. And I'm explaining to you that they won't. That is propaganda, that they've been telling us that for forever, because a fucking dead slave ain't a working slave, and neither is one that's gone. What they gonna do with us if we fucking disappear? If we know that the rest of the world is there for us, what the fuck are they gonna do? Because that's exactly what happened when Mexico was taking us during fucking slavery. And then what happened? They started to change the fucking narrative. How are we not paying attention to history? And how is it okay that we're not paying attention to history simply because we're fucking angry? That is exactly how colonialism and systematic racism works. But are we forgetting that the minute we came together, they separated us? They changed the fucking narrative. And we're gonna let that happen. We're okay with that.
When I was learning who I was so excited to know pretty much where I come from. That, hey man, listen, this whole time we thought we were Mexicans, and although technically we are, there's something deeper to just being Mexican. So when I was learning the history, I remember I thought that if I shared it with my mom, I would perhaps awaken something in her and perhaps also help her develop pride in that. So one day I sat with her and I said, hey mom, I was doing some research and I was finding out that we people from where we're from, we were known as Chichimeca. And she looks at me and she says, huh? It's like, yeah, we spoke an indigenous language and we're indigenous people, mom. And she says, no, we're not. I said, mom, what do you mean? We're indigenous people. And she said, ¿Estás pendejo? I said, then what are we, mom? And she says, somos mexicanos. Like, Yeah, I know, but ethnically, we're Mexicans because we're born there. Sure, I got you. But ethnically, what are we? And she's so puzzled. Somos mexicanos, mijo? Yeah, mom, but that's our nationality. We're just born in Mexico, sure. But ethnically, mom, what are we? She looks at me, she says, no sé, pero no somos pinches indios. And that's when I realized, you see, it's worked. The plan and the efforts of the colonizer have worked. We are ashamed to be what we're supposed to be. Or more accurately, we were taught to be ashamed of our origins. So now we have a bunch of people talking about, yo no soy un pinche indio. And then we refer to people of Oaxaca, Oaxaquita. See, all these things begin to make sense to me. Everything begins to make sense. Now, me thinking back on when I was a kid and my dad used to call her pinche Oaxaquita fea. Now I was like, I get it. So now that I bring forth this piece of knowledge, piece of information to my mom, you know we're indigenous people. All she probably, her trauma told her, is my son trying to tell me that we're those Oaxaquitas? So it makes complete sense why we are the way that we are. And not just the self-shame aspect of it. Not only are we taught to feel ashamed of who we are, so we're over here talking about, oh, somos de España and stuff like that, right? But worse is we also have these people trying to throw terminologies at us, talking about Latino, Hispanic. Notice how everything they throw at us identifies us as people of Europe. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that the systemic effort is to do their best to try to identify us as if we're people of Europe? How come they never try to umbrella us all as indigenous people? If you must umbrella us all, why is it always the umbrella of the identity that belongs to Europeans? Why are we never umbrellaed under the identity of indigenous people?
Okay, let's talk about colorism in the Hispanic community for a little bit.
All my three sisters were blonde.
Yeah.
And I was the only one that came out with black hair, dark skin, dark eyes. My sisters have these beautiful hazel eyes. My mom's güera, which is the white one. They call her Tia Güera because she's so light-skinned.
Yeah.
And so I grew up as La Prieta Fea, which means the ugly dark one.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who called you that?
My mom.
No.
I remember she said that, right? Remember that. Keep that in your head. She's the ugly dark one. Her family called her the ugly dark one. Now keep listening.
Like a joke?
No, it's like, it's in term of endearment, but people would walk up to my mom and go, your daughters are so beautiful. And who's this?
Oh,
and I would be like, I'm one of them, blah, blah, blah. So I wasn't the pretty one. Like I grew up as not the pretty one. So there was a conscious decision when I was young to be the funny one. And I really think that has lent itself to my personality. Like not just like, oh, I'm going to be an actress, but like I just don't value beauty in my own self very much. And you know, I'm with L'Oreal, I'm a spokesperson, which my sisters are still like, why'd they pick you? Still, like nothing like family to.
No, I'm not going to lie. Colorism in the black community is bad. But colorism in the Hispanic community is different. Now look at her sisters and her mom. Look at this shit. Ain't no fucking way, boy. Look now. They were the beautiful ones. And Eva was the ugly dark one. It's not the fact that they called her the ugly dark one, which is crazy as hell, but it's the fact that they made her believe it. They made her think it. The idea that lighter skin, blonde hair, light eyes just equals beauty has always been crazy to me. There's this saying in the Hispanic community that basically means purify the race. Don't reproduce or don't have babies with nobody that's darker than you or darker skin. Keep fucking somebody that's lighter than you so you can purify and make the race better, because the race is better when it's lighter and whiter. I'm not saying that there's no black people that think like that. I'm just saying it's crazy that y'all have a whole term for it. Generational systematic brainwashing of colorism, racism, and standards of beauty really needs to be studied on every fucking level. And the crazier things with Hispanic is either 0 or 100. Like it's either dark skin or white skin. Like there's no in between. They don't do the shades and the brown skin and the caramel and all that shit. You're either white skin or they consider you dark skin. Like what they consider dark skin is fucking crazy, because like Eva's family said they consider her the dark one, right? But then they'll look at a J-Lo and consider her white skin, like the beautiful white skin one. I didn't see a difference in complexion. Like, y'all know it gets way darker than that, right? Like, I'll meet a lot of Hispanics, and they'll always tell me about, like, the nicknames that their family gave them, like, negro, negrita, some shit like that, or whatever. Something that just means black and dark. And I'll be like, why do they call you that? And they'll be like, oh, because I'm the dark one. I'm the dark-skinned one in the family. And their skin complexion will be, like, the same color as Beyonce's. And I'm like, bitch, where are you dark-skinned? They done really made you think that anything past pasty white is just fucking dark-skinned. I'm like, if you dark-skinned, bitch, what am I? And obviously, like I said, this is not just a Hispanic thing. Obviously, we know black people that think like this. We know Indian people that think like this. We know there's a lot of Asian and like we know a lot of people that think like this. But like I said, this should honestly be studied because the brainwashing is fucking real.
Okay, so I think I'm ready to tell you guys about one of the most racist experiences I have had whilst travelling. I went with a friend at the time who is mixed race, and obviously I'm a black woman. We did no research. We just went to Granada, Spain, where the moor's built. We went because that's where the moor's built, but we also went because it was my birthday trip. The racism started instantly. The stares were disgusting. It was intense staring. We got refused service in 1 or 2 restaurants. We did go to a couple of bars. One bar we got told to leave because apparently it was just for men, even though it was a gay bar. Another lesbian bar, the girls that were in there were laughing at us while we were dancing, wouldn't speak to us. Not that we're entitled or you have to speak to us, but it was really giving, we're not trying to talk to you. Then it started to get violent. I got dressed up for my birthday. I've come downstairs in the hotel lobby and this man looked me up and down and literally physically went for me. I'm sure he spat after me, calling me names in Spanish. His wife had to hold him back literally for no reason. I was just walking out of the hotel. Man full blown tried to attack me. There was another time when we was in this rooftop club and I'm dancing, minding my business, and this man tries to physically remove me from the club, speaking in Spanish, basically saying that I shouldn't be there. Luckily, we had made friends with two boys. I think it was Daniel and Jesus. Jesus was gorgeous, blonde hair, blue eyes, Spanish boy, was absolutely gorgeous, and he was the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. And they were basically saying that the reason why people are so racist here is because of Franco. The stares towards the black people and the Muslims was really, really intense. In the hotel lobby, a little girl called me some type of racial geography name in Spanish, and I've looked at her parents, and her parents are smiling. Everywhere we went, the stares, looking me up and down, giving me dirty looks, the sniggering, the laughing was so intense. It was so degrading that I ended up locking myself in the hotel room for the rest of the trip. My friend never experienced any racism because obviously she presented maybe as Spanish, I don't know, but she viewed it, and I know that it really affected her as well. The holiday was awful. Like, my friend's company was amazing and we made it great, but it was awful. People were just so rude, so nasty, saying things in Spanish, and to be refused service during that time, I think it was 2020, was insane. I will never go to mainland Spain again. They clearly hate the Moors. They can't stand the Roman Egyptians. They were removing them from shops, refusing them service too. And they definitely couldn't stand the Muslims either. Worst experience ever. Don't go, ever.
So no one really cares about racism in Eastern Europe because Eastern Europe is still effectively seen as victims globally. Growing up in Western Europe especially, we're taught that Eastern Europe is a region that suffered. We learn about colonization of Africa, and we also learn about how the Ottomans colonized most of Eastern Europe. We learn about the Hungarian Empire, Nazi invasion, Soviet domination. We learn about the post-communist collapse. Eastern Europe is seen as a region that doesn't hold any power and has suffered. So the racism and the nationalism that emerges out of Eastern Europe is not seen as effectively meaningful. It's just seen as like almost a trauma response, ignorance, or even like poverty driven. Nobody sees racism in Eastern Europe as systemic oppression. We just see it as, oh, they don't know any better, or education isn't the best. And to be even a little bit harsh, no one expects moral leadership from Eastern Europe. No one expects multiculturalism or progressive ideas. No one's expecting like moral justice movements to come out of like Serbia or Bosnia or I don't know, Bulgaria. People only care about racism that comes from certain countries. There's a global hierarchy when it comes to what kind of racism people care about. We care about racism that comes from countries that have global power, that have colonial guilt, and that have cultural capital. Western Europe has all three. Eastern Europe has effectively none. The world sees racism in Eastern Europe as sort of almost background noise. It's seen as just like another region that's just not ready for diversity. No offense.
It is no secret that Hollywood has a very racist past and sometimes still a racist present. However, do you know about Rita Hayworth, the Hispanic woman who was convinced to get surgeries just so she could look white so she could become successful? Rita Hayworth was born Margarita Carmen Casino in New York City. So when Margarita started her acting career, she could only book roles for exotic women of color. And back in the day, those were very limited, which meant you would probably have no success. After a few years of playing exotic women in films, Margarita was able to sign a contract with Columbia Pictures. Harry Cohen, the co-founder and president of Columbia Pictures, decided that in order for her to become successful, she had to get surgery to look like a white woman. So, with a desire and ambition to become a successful actress, Rita did just that. She went through painful electrolysis to change her hairline, which was considered too ethnic. She dyed her naturally black hair to a ginger shade. And the list of procedures goes on, but one of the biggest changes was her name. Columbia Pictures did not want her to be called Margarita because that was way too Spanish. Her new name was Rita Hayworth, which sounded very American and white. For the rest of her career, Rita Hayworth played white women. She no longer had to settle for the role of an exotic woman. And as terrible as it sounds that she had to change her whole ethnic look to become successful, it worked, and she became one of the most successful actors of that time.
Guys, so I'm at work. I work at the Hampton Inn. I'm trying to smile because I'm so upset
and I feel so degraded right now. So I work the front desk. I'm home from school, so I'm not always here. So there were two gentlemen at the desk, one white guy and one Hispanic guy. They were beating at the desk, and I said from the back, you don't have to do all that. But I said it so nice and respectfully. Give me 1 second. And so I walk up, and the man says, my room has not been cleaned in 5 days, and I requested it to be cleaned. And I said, okay, sir, what's your room number? He tells me his room number, but he has this bad attitude. Give me 1 second. So I told him, like, I will put it in as a report that you want your room cleaned for tomorrow. Everything will be handled. He goes to say, yeah, I told that black kid to clean my room this morning. I looked at him and my heart dropped to the floor, because never in my life would I ever expect that. I say, I don't know what black person you're talking about. Now we're pulling race cards, and mainly all of our housekeepers are Hispanic. Like for part 2, I'm gonna finish the story.
Another thing I want to talk to y'all about that happened yesterday. Tell me why I had to block one of the sisters. Now, she ain't my real sister, but you know, she black, so I'm gonna call her sister. You know, black and brown women, we're sisterhood here, you know. That's what it is. So I made my video stating that black and brown women, we can take over the beauty industry, right? And everybody agreed. She was the only one who got in the comments and said that she does not like Latina women and that they think they're better than everybody else. And I'm saying to myself, like, I caught myself because I was arguing with her. I was like, don't you know that there's a such thing as being black and Latina? So what are you talking about? And she was like, they're racist and we started everything and they stole everything from us. Whoa. And this is a conversation that me and one of my sisters had, because my sister put me up on game. Baby hairs, take it all the way back to the 60s and 70s. Latinas started baby hairs, okay? Black women were not doing that with their edges. They were not laying their edges. They didn't do that until the 80s and the 90s. Take it all the way back to the 60s, okay? The photos, they have the photos to prove it. They started baby hairs. We took that from them. Our hair don't lay like that. We don't have straight hair naturally. The majority of us, it's curly. We don't have that. And when my sister told me that, I was like, you for real? And she pulled up receipts and I couldn't argue. So she got in my comments and I found myself arguing with her, and I'm like, girl, I'm just gonna block you because you spread misinformation. We borrow from each other, okay? But to say that we started everything and the Latina women came and stole from us, that's a lie. The same way that they can't say, oh, well, Latina women started everything and then the black women stole from us, that's not true either. That's just something I want to talk to y'all about, and we're gonna put it on the floor and we're gonna talk about it, okay? The video is to bring unity. So if you come to my video trying to put separation between black and brown women, baby, you are blocked. Because if you're somebody like me who's both, we ain't doing that here.
Dominicans be like, I'm not black. Meanwhile, the picture of their abuelita in the living room.
Do you want to know why most Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, particularly the Afro-Latinos, the black Latinos, don't like to claim blackness or African or Afrocentrism? You want to know why? Because when slavery was going on, the breaking of the slave was so horrendous in the Caribbean, you couldn't imagine. Not to say over in the United States and in the southern plantations, we didn't have our fair share of nightmares. Best believe we did. But in the Caribbean, it was a totally different beast. We were in the Caribbean in 1555, and we got fucked up out there. Really fucked up out there. They put up something called the caste system, which is racial hierarchy. Did you know that? Spanish people, white Spanish people, then people born in New Spain of Spanish descent, mestizos, basically Spanish and Native American descent, Native American, then African. So don't tell me there's no such thing as a race thing in the Caribbean. There is. There's colorism, there's all of that. There's also some things where they want to perfect the race, basically. Don't date anybody darker, or Africano, or Negro. So you be careful of that. So that's taught in the Caribbean. Also, another factor is, because they were also very broken and suffering from self-hatred, what happens is, during the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, when a lot of people from the Caribbean were migrating, immigrating to America, what was going on in America at the time? Segregation, Jim Crow. The civil rights movement was just starting to kick off a little bit. So a lot of our Afro-Latino brothers and sisters was witness what African Americans were going through, and you know what? They didn't want no piece of that. So to escape persecution, I'm Hispanic, I'm Dominican, I'm Puerto Rican. That's how it came to be. That's how it came to be.
You know what this whole protesting thing in LA is showing me, and it's actually showing the world too. Coming from a Hispanic, you know, Puerto Rican and Dominican or whatever, right? Hispanic people, they racist as fuck, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hispanic people racist as shit. Alright, tell y'all a little story. I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican, right? In my family, I'm the only one that got this texture hair, right? Well, not now because, you know, my sister got, her kid's Hispanic and black. My kid's Hispanic and black. So, but my immediate family, all that, right? The only one that got this texture hair, this texture beard and all that, it's me. Because I'm the only one from my cousins, to my brothers, to my sisters, to my aunts, my uncles, all of them. I was the only one that was Puerto Rican and Dominican. Like, I remember as a kid, like, I love my uncle, but he crazy. But I remember my uncle as a kid telling me, oh, like, you got that peasy hair and shit like that. Because everybody in my family got that slick shit, that you know what I'm saying? So I'm always thinking, I'm like, all right, my hair peasy, my hair bad. And that's until I met my wife. And she taught me about, hair textures. How some people got 3, some people got, they were like 3C, 3-4, whatever the fuck she was telling me. But she told me about hair texture and shit like that. Now I'll be going down memory lane and shit. I'm like, damn. My family really used to be racist as shit. It's not funny because it's not funny, but when you think about it, you're like, yo, they was really out here being racist. And you know what's crazy? It's crazy that it be like older Hispanic people that be the most racist. Like, I remember, like, Puerto Ricans got this word that they use called mollo, and that's to describe that's the derogatory word for black people, like the Hispanics use. They be like, oh, ese es un mollo, blah blah blah, el mollo ese, and then they say another, mollo apestoso, whatever the fuck they want to say, right? And I'm like, damn, bro, like, I ain't really use the word because I thought the word was stupid. Like, it was just, the fuck is a mollo anyway? Like, to me, it was like, what the fuck is that? But yeah, these LA riots just showing me, like, because they've been coming out with people, calling cops the N-word. They've been coming out with a video of a shorty talking about some, she ain't even coming to America because it was all so great. It was slightly better than Mexico. Bruh, if it was slightly better, how about you get your ass back over there then? That's just how I feel at this point, bruh.
Welcome back. You see the Hispanics, you see the Latinos, everybody is complaining about the black color. So now I am getting used to it because I've done several videos of even blacks and blacks right now in America going through the same. Oh, we are not the same. You guys are Africans, maybe you're black Americans, right? We've seen even among Asians, right? People say, no, you're black, we're not accepting you guys because you guys are black. To hell with you. So now these ones are the Hispanics, the Latinos, and all of that. What do you stand to gain with this? When would you start making peace with the fact that this person that has a different color from you are the same? You guys will bleed red blood too. When would you start seeing us as the same? When would you start accepting that, oh, this is life? Like, in life, you're like, how do they even say it? They said, what is the spice of life, right? They have whatever they say is majority. I mean, they said this, whatever is the spice of life. When would you actually start dealing with it? Because for me, I'm open to anybody, right? I'm open to the whites, I'm open to the blacks, I'm open to any freaking body. For me, I just want to be happy. When would you just find, just that common ground that, oh, happiness is what we need, not all of these colors, right? I want to hear about your opinions in the comment section. If you know you've gone through these things, right? If you know you've passed through it, I believe here is going to be a safe space for you. Let's talk about it. Let's share your pains. People will be there to tell you how to go about it and how to come out from it, right? I want to see you in the comment section. Please, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, to like, and to comment, right? It's your girl Blessing on Global Gist BJ. Do not forget to stay bold, stay elegant, and stay loved. Until I see you later, just in a moment, with another big one.